Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8 and 3rd Reich events installed. Let's continue. Bringing some reinforcements down. Here are a couple of light Panzer Abteilung detachments. Help finish off here and help with Sri Lanka if needed. And later move into India. Okay, now these guys. SSHQs, cool. We're doing fairly well there. Now that's a picture of army troops. Probably pre-war. Definitely not SS. Not that it's a big deal or anything, I just noticed these things. Interception tactics. Yeah, let's do that. Alright, we could use a little crude. Now this is of course what I should have done instead of, or done this plus the airborne. See, that would have been the thing to do, guys. If you were smarter than me, you would have, you know, did at least one of these seaborne invasions and then dropped the paras in. Because if the one or more of the para units loses organization, they'll just retreat to the province in which we control, immediately adjacent to it. So, learn from my mistakes. You can be aggressive, you can show one there. Now unfortunately, well, these guys, we're having a bit of a supply bottleneck here. I'm building a second port, or not a second port, but additional port levels. But this is our bottleneck here. What we're going to do is put these guys on the, oh, the liner, damn, wrong boat. Ship, I know, but these guys. And then I want to do is a naval invasion. Oh, can we do it here? What's the range gonna get? Not gonna let me invade my own territory, is it? Okay. That's just too far away. I understand that, but it's not even letting me. Oh well. This is just all too far away. That won't speed things up enough. I'm just going to here. Just get them heading out here. Jungle unit training, that's great. Long tab. Commando. Mountain unit training, that's good, because as you can see, we will be facing mountains in here, mountains in India, mountains everywhere. Okay. We're going to let it go for the moment. I do want to see about improving naval basing, which will help the supply situation. Oh good, we have some decisions to make. Yes, we'll take the 9th U-boat flotilla. We'll put it in the production queue. Redeploy motor decision title. Great. Okay, yeah, we'll do this in March. Launch this group south. Okay, so this is just a nice cool HQ, some artillery, infantry support, cool. And of course we're not doing Barbarossa at this time. next year. And okay, hold it. Iran is offering us a trade agreement. We have the money for fuel. Okay. Only don't buy fuel, but I will from you guys. Snow begins to fall. Winter is coming. Winter is coming if you're a Game of Thrones kind of guy. I've watched some of the, more than half of the episodes. So I sort of say that I may have had them all on my DVR, but I fast forward through a bunch of them, so I find it okay, not so great. Okay, we're down to just high popularity. Bomber. Twin engine gun position. Which means that we are a bit of a deficit because lost very high popularity, so we've got those improved. Good. Karl Friedrich von Siemens dies. CEO of Siemens, very major company. Earlier we had the event that talked about one of the Siemens employees in dealing with the that isn't it. Where is... Yeah. Oh, yeah, Nanjing. Yeah. Nanjing. The Nanjing massacre and helping a bunch of Chinese out, I mean thousands out. We will lose him as a possible minister. So, yeah, but of course by that time, much more into the Third Reich. Okay, we won Colombo. Good. Now, you stop. You stop. You continue. I want to occupy Colombo, but I also want to move on over. Desert unit training advanced. Now we're going to stop that. Like the other things, we've got lots of deserts to worry about. But I want to improve my seaport capacity. Should I do basing? Basing will be quicker. I may also do the seaport too eventually, but now I have worried about with this tactic of what I've done here is running out of supplies. But since I'm a human being and not the AI, I could, and if you notice these guys are down here already, though they're out of supply just because this small base is being overutilized. Too much stuff going on here. We're going to transfer some of the stuff to Colombo once we can to fly supplies into the invasion beaches. No fuel for me. Oh, forgot to kick these guys to the top. Now tactics. We'll do a little strategic bomb improvement. One thing we do need to do is I'm going to drop them. Where's my big bunch of air power? Long range transports. There they are. Okay, now even before our disaster in Colombo the first time I had started a couple of divisions in production. I'll get there fast because they're just the HQs. And okay, one will get under Ramcke, I guess is way. He's one of my favorite generals for Germany, and definitely my favorite airborne guy. I sort of haven't used him because I don't know if there's an event to place his airborne brigade. I guess it was a brigade, I think it was, for one of the North Africa events, and so we may lose him there. But he, they were forming a, well, Folgore, if I'm pronouncing it right, the Italian, I think it means lightning, Italian parachute division for the assault on Malta. The Germans were preparing a brigade to go along with that airborne invasion along, I understand, may have been also seaborne invasion going as well. But that fell through for various reasons I don't know entirely. So his parachute brigade, or I think it's more than a battalion. I think it's brigade. No, maybe just a battalion. I think it may be just a battalion. I'm not sure. As, of course, long-term viewers know, I don't have all the details nailed down in my head. I'm talking extemporaneously, so sorry if I'm getting some of the details wrong. But the basic story is correct in that the unit, instead of being sent somewhere else, was sent to North Africa, and was used as basically an elite German infantry unit. Yeah, I think it's battalion. And set up for the El Alamein operation here. And when that, went wrong, and badly wrong, they were unmotorized, as paratroopers here are, which you shouldn't have unmotorized units in the desert, but that's just my thought, unless they're garrison troops or something. But they fought their way out. They were retreating back on foot, came upon maybe a hospital or a supply column or something like that of the British, and briefly captured the unit. But I'm thinking it's a hospital, but it may not be. And basically, if I remember correctly, left all the British just fine, just took their vehicles, their trucks, and drove out. So even if it was a hospital, they didn't harm any of the patients or anything. They just took all the trucks and whatever fuel they had and drove, and made the drive all the way back to the Maruth line here, with the retreat of Rommel. So he got all of his paratroopers out instead of surrendering. And so they continued the fight in Tunisia. Well, with the surrender in Tunisia, they were flying some people out. Eric Hartmann got his mechanic into his cockpit. Cockpit, how tight it is of a Messerschmitt 109. You know, they're so, you know, the Germans who sat in American cockpits thinks American, for like the Mustang, are huge, because the Germans did them very small, so they were very small targets, very tight, very small. So he got his mechanic into that cockpit. I think he was sitting on his lap or one or the other in there, and flew. The two of them flew out of North Africa back to Italy to get them out. But there were other, you know, early on flying, you know, supplies being flown in, wounded being flown out early in the campaign. But as things, again, didn't go very well for the Germans, and they were collapsing, Ramcke and a group of his battalion, not all of them, got on 3 or 4 fairly small boats, or, you know, not like, don't think ships, but think, you know, Arab dhows type, but sailing vessels that they captured locally and sailed. I forget whether it was like to Sardinia, I think, or to Sicily or to somewhere, but they just got out there and used wind power and sailed out of the pocket, because they weren't going to surrender. They were going out and continue the fight. So that whole story of getting your unit out, getting all the troops out that you can, keep moving, because they got everybody they could on the boats without, you know, endangering them, and being able to sail out at night. And obviously it takes a few days to sail either to Sardinia or to Sicily at the time, and getting your troops out, you know, just starting the night after everything is falling apart on, you know, with the Montgomery's counterattack, and start moving at night, marching through the desert, thinking, no, we're not surrendering, we're marching back. And then coming across the British, you know, unit. It wasn't a combat unit, it was a rear echelon unit that they took over briefly and left all the British, because they didn't need the prisoners, whatever the unit was, and then just drove, caught up with. I mean, they didn't, it long before the getting the Maruth line, they caught up to the Rommel's retreating units. But so that they were able to do that overcoming of adversity in there. I don't know that he ever had any great, huge, you know, capture Gibraltar or capture Crete type success. I believe he probably was involved in the Crete as an airborne officer, or whatever, you know, some great command of a, you know, victory over the enemy. But his victories were pulling his troops out of very bad situations that weren't of his making, meaning he wasn't at all responsible for El Alamein or for the collapse in Tunisia, but he was getting his people out to continue fighting. So he's one of my favorites of the paras. And what other para do we have here? We'll put in command. Bauer, yeah. Now, of course, it was my fault, but he was one of the Sussman was leading the unit. Sussman's in or in Tanganyika. I guess maybe it was Bauer who we lost his division. Colombo. Yeah, you can attack Rommel. You aren't going to win. He doesn't have much supplies, but he's good at fighting without supplies. Okay. Craft. Oh. Yeah, I keep hitting cover up the thing. Kraftwagen Transport Regiment 4 Speer der Luftwaffe. Okay. As we talked about earlier, the and it's an NSKK. Again, unfortunately, I clicked that. You can go back before I click that. NSKK unit. That again is sort of these blurred lines in the National Socialist political and governmental hierarchy. They're NSKK, but they're sort of a part of Speer's organization, which is Todt, but they're assigned to the Luftwaffe. And what basically they were doing in North Africa was, from whatever ports, sort of the reason I included them, whatever ports, whether back here in Benghazi or when they get up to Tobruk, they were they didn't have rail lines, so they were transporting all their supplies via trucks, and to supply the army in general, but definitely the Luftwaffe units. One of the regiments was sent down there to North Africa, and this young man here, this is an NSKK unit from somewhere semi-tropical. I couldn't quite place whether that was somewhere flat in Greece or somewhere flat in Italy, or whether it was North Africa, because it's awfully flat there. But this photo is definitely from North Africa, and the original person was wondering what sort of SS unit he was, because of the black collar tabs you could see on the original photo, much larger. But that is, it is black collar tabs, but that's from the sort of NSKK style, and it's an SP for Speer unit. But he's wearing, as I noted, this is a Luftwaffe cut uniform. You notice the very baggy pants is part of the telltale signs for it. Other details you see that the uniform itself is, and he's also wearing an Arm Eagle, though if you look very closely it's not an SS Arm Eagle, it's a NSKK Arm Eagle, so that they were equipped with for operations, and they were also operating in the Eastern Front at this time. One of the reasons that we may not be getting the events is just because we're not currently at war with the Soviet Union. Though there's various others of these that will be happening. So their uniforms themselves were generally supplied by the Luftwaffe for operations, whether in the East, or they were also operating in the West, or down in North Africa, and later in primarily Italy, but also Greece. They were, like I say, Luftwaffe uniforms, but with NSKK insignia, so that's sort of the mix. It tells the story, and it's definitely a photo. I dug for many hours trying to find any NSKK photos from North Africa. I could find modern artistic recreations of what they must have looked like, but I couldn't find originals other than this one. But I could positively identify that it's NSKK. So we got Luftwaffe for the deck right here. Just that. It's there if you needed it. I don't know, I'm going to send it over here and don't know what unit I'll attach it to. So instead of just giving I wish I could give it a regional effect, meaning, okay, well, to the positive here a little bit, so we'll build a few more things. I wish I could get like North Africa region supply transportation throughput X, but 1 or 2 regiments doesn't equal supply transport through any significant increase through the whole of the map where Germany is. So sort of a compromise to give them a little bonus units like that. Okay, what do we want to build? I'm building one Marine division that's basically these guys, naval infantry. A little late, obviously, for Sri Lanka. We are going to be going into India, but I may want to invade, take out a couple of these islands. We may see where else we go. So we're doing a little bit of that here. Yeah. Let's do just one more single thing with it. Attach it to the core HQ. Let's do a few more infantry attachments. I got a few places we could use those. I could use a few engineering attachments. Speaking. Looks like we got some supply down here again. Now a little bit. Okay. These guys need to come forward. We're just not there yet, taking a long time. What are we doing up here? Army HQs have advanced. That's a very good thing. That does put us into 45, so we're going to stop that. And so here by 16 hours total. This tech reduced the delay between attacks. Yeah, that is this other one. Advanced armor designs. I was asked one of the message whether I thought that this was a advanced technical design like sloped armor, but we already have, of course, sloped armor here. But or was it sort of some of the process? But we also have the metallurgy here, armor metallurgy. So I think it's just more of probably a technical design, not necessarily like sloped, but just, I don't know, better designed tanks. Not sure. And I was also asked about body armor. There's a few texts that I object to. You know, it's not that I'm saying Black Ice is all wrong. They have their reasons. I don't always know all the details of why they did something. But here, yeah, it reduces speed, but body armor. I know of, yeah, I can find, and I may even have saved a few pictures for possible use in advance of various different troops, and I think maybe some Danish troops or whatever, that are wearing sort of metal armor, you know, in World War II, as some sort of, I don't know whether experimental or whatever. I know enough to know that no armor that you're wearing is going to stop a rifle bullet that you're going to be able to move in during this time. Now it might, if it's already gone through one sandbag, and because rifle bullets, you know, the Mauser rifle bullet will readily go through a stack of sandbags. Now you may need, you know, 3 or 4 deep stack of sandbags will stop it, but one layer won't stop one of those rifle bullets. Maybe going through that, already slowing it up, and then hitting the armor would stop the rifle bullet, or they're just designed to stop fragments or whatever. They wasn't really effective, and I'm not even saying that this would you know, because I'm looking at this and it's a little bit of defensiveness, toughness, and morale boost. But I don't know of a single country that widespread used body armor. I don't think the body armor that was very effective, and the examples that I think that were sort of widespread were for pilots. A lot of them, or air crews for bomber crews and such, were wearing flak jackets. Now those were to stop pieces of shrapnel, depending on the velocity and type, weight of the piece of shrapnel, how close the thing blew up. Whether it would stop it or not is another question, but it would help. So there was body armor at the time, but I disagree as a general unit improvement thing. So I disagree with that text, so I'm not using it. And I've not. VA, I may use it, but I'm not going to use it. Wet ammo storage. I sort of know tanks fairly well, but I really don't know of. Then I see that this is for Panzer units. Obviously, this is to store ammo in such a way so it doesn't catch on fire, I gather. But I don't know of its widespread use in World War II. I may be just missing something. I don't, know of it, so I don't use that. And anti-personnel defense I will use. You may have seen some of the Sturmgewehr is particularly often shown with a bent barrel to shoot around corners. They also did a similar thing for the MP 40 submachine gun, a 9mm, that had and they weren't exactly straight bent. They're normally just on a bit of an angle. And those will wear out, and they do slow the bullets up, and they're not that accurate. They did have those, and in some of the Panzer units, they specifically put little hatches on top that you couldn't stick a grenade through. But you could poke one of these things up and sort of rotate it around to just sort of, generally spray bullets. Because if somebody's on the roof of your tank, a lot of tanks, and don't have an easy way to show you pictures, a lot of the Russian tanks and some of the other ones just have little slits in the side of their turret, and they're just the you can sort of peek through them a little bit, and they're designed to poke a pistol barrel or possibly submachine gun barrel through to shoot somebody who's gotten on top of your tank. And there were also several other devices that the Germans worked with to try to deal with personnel coming up, whether with a satchel charge, a suicide attack, or the Germans also, which they developed, was a handheld mine that you would run up and stick on the tank. You'd have to stick it on the tank yourself and then pull the timer, but it was magnetic. So you'd have to stop the tank and get off, get it off there. And normally by that time it's gone off well before, even if it's happening, you have maybe a chance to evacuate the tank. So anti-personnel defense, there was definitely some of those used in fairly widespread use by some different nations. So that one I would, just haven't yet, I would use. So there's just a few texts that not saying couldn't, and also another one that I don't know that here, and it's 41. Now, I really don't know much about, and again, I'm not an air power person, who knows aircraft well, but an IFF transponder in World War II, I don't know how that would work in a dogfight. I understand how it works when you're doing electronics and everything's being displayed electronically on your screen, but I don't know how that would work in a dogfight. Or maybe that's a ground thing. I'm not sure, so I don't know that. Now I do know a lot about. There were different night fighting equipment that was put on. The Germans did a lot of that. The Allies did some of that. They should have, which they don't. I don't think. An armor night fight ability. I think the Dig DLC did have one of those, but because they definitely put night fighting equipment on. The Germans did on tanks, and the U.S. a little bit, but I think much more in Korea. And the Germans also set up, looking looking to see if they have it here. And using sort of infrared lights at night for, I'm not seeing any text here for that. Maybe I'm just missing it. Night fighting capabilities for infantry units were also used in the war. So some of that stuff, sort of advanced fighting technology, was definitely used. But some of that stuff I just object to. Not that it's not possible, and not that, like I say, if you have good reasons for it, you shouldn't use it. But, and it's up to you. Where are we still? Okay, we still haven't used up all of the slots with that. Okay. So that's just sort of my thought on that. Let's see what text we should do. Well, since we're talking about it, let's do it anti-personnel defense. We'll help our panzers out some. We can do battlefield armor. Now this is one they definitely did do battlefield armor modification. This is more than just simply putting some spare tracks on your tanks or other fighting vehicles to give it a little more thickness on a few points. The Germans did a lot of that. Soviets, some. The U.S. did a little, some too. I don't know if the British did much. But I normally don't use it just because of the reducing of speed. But it's not much. But obviously if you do run through all levels of it, it will continue to slow you down. So it's more for me a tactical choice, if you will, not to use the tech. It's not any we'll do the seaport basing. It's not any objection to the technology itself being included in. Let's go with 2 of these. We need to have a few more convoy escorts there. Oh, it's this one that we're now on. Oh, okay, yes. Oh, we lost the effect of Kaiser Wilhelm II's death. Okay, because that effect was pushing us into having to do. Okay, and oh, damn it. Not enough supplies are coming through. We unfortunately just lost our advances into these. Being bombing, yeah. Let's go look at the air war. Bitburg. Yeah, got our factory a little bit there, but let's find you from down there. I love it, Brave. Okay, let's look at Post. We've got a bunch of our eastern units fighting in the west. Now let's move into now we're going to let him repair a bit more. Don't lose. Okay, climb rate focus. Just missing it, or? Okay, we just achieved it. Okay, so there's no additional levels. Alright, okay. And core HQs. And there's another one that's pushed to 45, so we're going to stop researching that. But again, 8 hours. Reduced the delay by 8 hours. We're going to shift both over to these here, because we're seeing the supply problems we're having here, and that will help. Just doing those won't solve it, but an increase in the ports and effectiveness and supplies will help. Bottleneck here. Okay, we now have Colombo. So we've their extraction, so that will hopefully boost this up here. It'll get up to 8 plus whatever that will give us. And some factories, of course, that's nice. Production. Now we will want to create a, we'll go from split to Colombo, and we'll create a resource convoy from Colombo to Athens. That will help us a bit. Lost maybe our last Totenkopf Standarten. I'm not sure if we have any more left. Okay, trials for the field trials for the Walther Gewehr 41. This is the semi-automatic rifle. The Gewehr 41. The Walther was the better model, right? Yeah. They're the ones that didn't follow the direction. So the Mauser design was therefore dropped in favor of the Walther, as I stated here in my description, based on other stuff, of course, readings. I didn't just make it up. So they started a limited production of the Walther designs and put it into field trials on the Eastern Front primarily. So we're getting some small arms gained for a little bit of supplies here, or we can decide not to support this, but it was rather effective. The Walther design, not that it's anywhere near the quality of the like M1 Garand, and not that I would be fully satisfied with it as a final development product, but I would have put it into larger scale production at that point. I would not, as an ongoing field trial with a plans to attempt to improve it, but I would have just gotten it out to the troops. I wouldn't have waited. Heavy AA guns. That is this one. Good. This, as you can see, various heavy guns, improved defensiveness, air, but piercing, heart attack +5. It's, you know, they're still sort of dual purpose, but piercing +10. So in some of those, and with looks at which headquarters has them, or I do believe the Schwer also improves the Schwer for heavy. It's improved. Rockets are nice, but let's go deep battle dog. Okay, I think we're going to leave it here for this episode. We are well on our way for getting Sri Lanka in, and we're going to use this here now that we can, and we should be, just because you notice supplies, fuel, because we're not burning fuel, so they're not using fuel. They're out of supply there. You're getting periodic supplies that keep them from becoming disorganized, but all these units over to Colombo here with its level 3 only, but we'll also get what is it, Trimcomalia. Read these names, you don't always pronounce them. Get this port in. It's a smaller port, but get a second port in, and we'll be able to better to supply and operate units out of the airbase here for operations into India. And since they're here, what we're going to do is start these guys attacking into there. I know I said we were going to stop, but okay, Japan, money, metal, no thank you. We're going against a lot of organized troops, but we are having these guys coming. Hopefully this will be enough to punch through them. Okay, again, thanks for viewing, thanks for liking the videos, I do appreciate it. Please post any comments, love to hear from you. Thanks so much.